In my previous videos, I talked about the incredible shrinking wrestlers. How wrestlers used to be big. They used to be these big 6'8" monsters. And when they came out, you were like, whoa! But then how over time, they gradually got smaller and smaller. First they became more medium-sized like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Then they got smaller than that. And now it's to the point where they're smaller than the audience. It's like you're standing in the crowd and the wrestler walks out and he's like smaller than you are. He's like, how the hell are we supposed to believe that that guy's going to be the next world champion when he's smaller than the audience? Here's Triple H with the NXT roster on the front page of the WWE webpage. It looks like Triple H with a bunch of little kids. They're like half his size. We're supposed to believe that this is the future? That these are future world champions? That's total nonsense. In my opinion, the mainstream audience is never going to buy into this. Which brings up two questions. Number one, why the hell are today's wrestlers like 5'2", 5'5"? And number two, does wrestling need steroids in order to become popular again? Remember when wrestlers were these big, jacked up comic book characters come to life? Hulk Hogan staring down Andre the Giant, the Ultimate Warrior versus Ravishing Recruit, Goldberg destroying people on Monday Nitro. These characters, they were so larger than life that they were out of this world. Well, we went from that to Seth Rollins. We went from that to Becky Lynch. We went from these big, jacked up looking comic book characters to these tiny little 5'5" girls. I mean, look at this. This was on the front page of the WWE webpage. Like, are we supposed to be impressed by this? Is this supposed to be larger than life? It looks like two little girls bullying another little girl. We grew up on China, a badass woman, and now we're supposed to believe that the little girl on the ground is the man? Yeah, right. This is not larger than life. In the mid-1990s, the WWF was under investigation for steroids, and that's when they started focusing on these smaller, more medium-sized guys. And that's when a lot of fans stopped watching wrestling, because the wrestlers, they weren't these big, jacked-up comic book monsters anymore. In 1994, they gave the belt to Diesel, who was naturally like a tall guy, but as I recall, even he talked about how they were super strict at the time, and the wrestlers were getting tested like crazy. But then in the late 1990s, during the Attitude Era, the wrestlers started looking jacked up again. Right? Let me make something clear. I am not condoning the illegal use of steroids, and I have no idea which wrestlers have or have not used steroids in the past. In fact, I don't even think you need to use steroids to look jacked up. My point is that when the wrestlers started looking jacked up in the late 1990s, that coincided with when wrestling started getting popular again. Thurman Sparky Plugg was pretty much a jobber in the WWF. By the time he started looking muscular as Hardcore Holly, that's when he got a lot more popular. Now, do you think he could have done the Hardcore Holly gimmick while still being a skinny guy? Hell no! Billy Gunn was a tag team mid-carder and a jobber as Rockabilly. By the time he got popular as Mr. Ass, he looked like a bodybuilder. Triple H was a mid-carder that got destroyed by the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 12. By the time he became the Game, he was way more muscular looking. Even mid-carders that were considered skinny back in the day looked jacked up when compared to today's indie wrestlers. Do you really think that Val Venus would have gotten over the way he did if he was skinny like he is now? No way! Of course not! In my opinion, when the mainstream audience goes to a wrestling event, they expect to see these big, muscular looking guys. But we've gone from that to this. Now let's be clear about something. Not every wrestler needs big muscles in order to get over. Guys like Ric Flair and Jake the Snake were able to become super popular without big muscles because their charisma and their personalities and their mic skills were so one of a kind. But come on, in my opinion, those are the exceptions. Most people will never be like Ric Flair or Jake the Snake. As I recall, Edge admitted on ESPN that he got jacked up when he was getting his big push. As I recall, Bret Hart said that steroids saved his career. The importance of having big muscles and looking muscular in the wrestling business to appeal to the mainstream audience should not be underestimated. The recent Madison Square Garden episode of Raw got one of the least viewerships of all time. In fact, that's been the story of this so-called women's revolution. It's been a story of the least viewerships of all time. Because nobody wants to see these scrawny little wrestlers acting like badasses. It boggles the mind how the WWE thought that Baron Corbin versus Seth Rollins was worthy of a pay-per-view main event. Seth Rollins is a scrawny, boring guy with a nasally voice and no personality. So what does the WWE do? They pair him up with Becky Lynch and try to get them both over that way. You know, it's like they're trying to do this People Magazine TMZ bullshit where it's like, oh look, they're a couple now. Aren't they cute? You know, it's like, who do they think we are? We're not some People Magazine celebrity gossiping idiots. We're wrestling fans. We want Stone Cold, The Rock, The Undertaker, The Ultimate Warrior. We want larger than life. You know, we don't want this, oh, isn't that cute? Like, what the fuck? Who do they think we are? Like, who the hell is this even for? Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch argue over chocolates. Who cares? Is this what they think we want? A scrawny indie guy and a tiny little indie girl arguing about chocolates? And this is on the front page of the webpage? Who the hell do they think we are? It's like they found out that Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch were a couple, so they're trying to make it into like this reality show thing, like Total Divas, except both of them are like totally unlikable. You know, like, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna make their wedding like a network special or something? Seth Rollins, do you take Becky? I do. Becky, do you take Seth Rollins? I do! Well, I now pronounce you man and beta male. You know, like, what? Then or what? Are they gonna broadcast their wedding reception? You know, is that something we really want to see? I mean, what if Seth Rollins decides to sing the first song? Uh-oh. Hey, honey. This one's for you. My love, I'll never find the words, my love, to show you how I feel, my love. Mere words could not explain. What do you think about that, honey? Precious love! Oh, honey, you're singing to me. This is the happiest day of my life. You built my life within your hands, created everything I am. Oh, it's just so romantic. I get emotional just thinking about it. I mean, this is what I want out of wrestling. I don't want larger than life. I don't want great storylines. I want this stupid shit. Oh, hey, don't be an asshole. She's not a mail-order bride. She's a mail-order man. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch reminds me of the D-Generation X song. Dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. You think you're a big man? Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Treat you like a 5'5", 130-pound little man. So Seth Rollins, tell me what it's like to be half a man. It must break your heart when the ratings come in, yeah? Those are the bricks, boy. Those are the bricks, mail order man. Burn it down. Last video I talked about how storyline-wise, the male wrestlers seem to be getting their balls cut off. But in the case of Seth Rollins, he doesn't seem to be having any to begin with. Like the surgeon's like, there's nothing here. Nothing for me to cut off. You know, Russo said on Twitter that Becky Lynch should have screwed Seth Rollins at the pay-per-view, and Becky Lynch responds, I did last night! And all the fanboys like, yeah, great comeback, Becky Lynch. But I'm like, wait, really? Screwed last night? With, how? With what? Hey, surgeon, with what? Surgeon's like, Hey, you, stop making fun of me. You're just jealous because she's with me. Yeah, you're just jealous because I'm with him. Don't make me close my social media accounts. Oh, please don't do that, Seth Rollins. Please don't close your social media accounts. We're gonna miss so much your bitchy whiny ass. But back to the main topic. So this is what it's come to. Wrestlers used to be these big, 6'8", 300-pound monsters. Then they became more medium-sized. Then they became medium-small. Then they became small. And now it's to the point where they're smaller than the audience. I mean, can you believe that we had a #1 contenders match with Darby Allin versus Jimmy Havoc in a #1 contenders match for the World Championship? I mean, do you have any idea how small these guys are? I mean, when Darby Allin comes out, it's like this. It's like a tiny little guy. You know, it looks like your little sister could probably beat him up in a match. I mean, these guys are tiny. Let's not even get started on Marco's stunt, right? In my opinion, in order for wrestling to become big and popular again with the mainstream audience, wrestlers need to start being tall again, and they need to start looking jacked up and muscular again. It seems like some people want me to criticize AEW. But the truth is, in my opinion, that AEW is actually the least embarrassing of the three major promotions right now. Now, make no mistake, it's still embarrassing to be a wrestling fan. But AEW has that old school feel. So far, it actually feels like a wrestling show. The main problem with AEW is that it has all these indie skinny little jobbers flipping around and doing all these super fake looking indie matches. So far I would give it like an embarrassment ranking of a 5 out of 10. I mean, you still can't show it to people, but at least semi-resembles an old school professional wrestling show. Now, the WWE, we've already talked about. All the stupid skits, nonsensical storylines, nothing makes any sense and nothing ever leads anywhere. I mean, just watch the last SmackDown. Just watch the last Raw. It's blatantly embarrassing. But even as embarrassing as the WWE is, it's not as embarrassing as Impact Wrestling is right now. It seems like Impact Wrestling is taking all the most embarrassing things of indie wrestling and putting it on national television to embarrass all of us wrestling fans. You got Joey Ryan and his stupid antics doing the penis suplex on Ken Shamrock. You have 5'5", 120-pound Tessa Blanchard in the men's division fighting the guys. It's absurd and embarrassing. If a woman like China was beating up the guys, I could buy into that. That would be more believable. But little Tessa Blanchard fighting the guys, it makes no sense. That's like, in my opinion, Alexa Bliss challenging Brock Lesnar or Riho challenging Chris Jericho. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. Impact Wrestling is embarrassing all of us, in my opinion. So for those of you who might want me to criticize AEW, in my opinion, they're actually so far the least embarrassing of the three companies. But do you see, in my opinion, the main issue with all three of these companies? It's the skinny little indie jobbers with no charisma in all three promotions. In my opinion, wrestlers need to start getting bigger and more charismatic.